Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be looking at your upcoming pattern change. We're going to be dealing with a much warmer pattern taking over the west and then also into parts of the north central United States and into the eastern United States, with a little cutout in the south central where we could be dealing with a little bit of chillier air. Now before we get into today's video, I just want to tell you guys that I'm not actually recording this on Saturday when you guys are probably watching this. I'm recording this on Friday night just because I won't be able to actually record on Saturday. So this is a scheduled upload. That's why I'm not talking about the hurricanes, because that would change much more between when I'm recording and when you guys are seeing it. So I'm going with a pattern change forecast, and that's not going to really change too much within the 12 hours in between when I'm recording this and when you guys see it. So there isn't going to be too much change, especially with pattern updates. There's really not a lot of change day today, so that's why I went for a pattern update. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal, and that's why I couldn't make a tropical storm update because of all of what's going on in the Atlantic. If I were to make an update on that, it would become outdated very quickly. So I'm going with the pattern change update for today. And then for tomorrow, August 9th, we're going to have your August forecast, and that's going to start off your week-long of long-range forecast. So we're going to have your fall forecast on the 10th, fall foliage forecast on the 11th, winter forecast on the 12th, total snowfall forecast on the 13th, first snowfall forecast on the 14th, and the first frost forecast on the 15th. And that will this is going to close out the long-range forecast video. So hopefully you guys are excited for this upcoming week. We're going to have a ton of content for you guys, and if you have any questions on today's video or those upcoming videos, just leave a comment down below. So taking a look at the temperature anomaly map from the European model, this is going to give us a good idea of where we're expecting below and above normal temperatures. So this would be for today, as of when you guys are listening to this, as of when I'm recording this, it would be tomorrow. So this is for Sunday, and you can see that we have some below normal temperatures in those blue, green, and purple colors, and then you can see above normal temperatures in the orange, the red, and even a few shades of brown there in parts of the United States and eastern Canada. So that's how you can read this map. In the oranges and the reds, that's where we're dealing with warmer or above normal temperatures. In the blues, the greens, the purples, that's where we're dealing with colder than normal temperatures. So you can see that we have those colder temperatures in effect for the northwest, and then because of a storm system, also for some parts of the Atlantic, and then also into the southern plains. The rest of the country, a majority of the country, is dealing with warmer temperatures. I do think that even though now you're dealing with these warmer temperatures, I'm expecting these temperatures to go right around the 20th back to near normal or below normal over a majority of the eastern United States, and I'm going to talk about that a lot more in tomorrow's video. The August forecast, again, that's coming out on the 9th, which would be Sunday, and that's going to be coming out again just in a couple of days. So we're going to be talking about that very shortly, and that'll be kind of covered a lot more in that video. So if you are curious about that, make sure you have your notifications turned on so you don't miss that video. So this would be again for Sunday. If we look over to Monday, you can see that the colder temperatures are moving off a little bit further to the east. Eventually, we're going to be dealing with pretty much this entire part of the country here, dealing with warmer temperatures, and then maybe a little cutout over at the bottom in the southern and central part of the country, dealing with some colder temperatures. But for the majority of the country, except for the southern plains, we'll be dealing with fairly warm temperatures. Again, by Monday, we have multiple different areas of warmer temperatures. We have one in the eastern third of the country, another one in the central U.S., and then a few areas in the southwest, some parts of the northwest, and then a few other scattered areas are dealing with some colder than normal temperatures for Monday. Taking a look at for Tuesday, you can see that pretty much the entire eastern two-thirds of the country are dealing with some warmer temperatures, as well as for the west coast. So we have multiple different areas where we're expecting some of these warmer than normal temperatures, and it's really going to be quite profound. You're really going to feel it because we were dealing with, for a good majority of late July into the early part of this month, some of those colder temperatures. So now that we're going into the warmer temperatures, it will definitely be more noticeable. You're going from, let's say, 5 degrees below average, and you're going from the 70s and the 80s, maybe to closer to 10 degrees above average, and that'll be closer to the upper 80s, even the 90s, or even close to triple digits in a few spots. So it's really gonna be noticeable. It'll be probably a 15-20 degree shift from last week to what we're gonna be dealing with next week. So it's definitely gonna be very noticeable, especially again because we were in a chillier pattern the past few weeks. So you're probably more used to those more regular temperatures where you're into the 70s and 80s, and now that we're getting into the 90s again, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to the system, at least for a couple days when we're first getting into those really warm temperatures. Taking a look at Wednesday, this is when the pattern really starts to set in, and not a lot of movement is going to happen from Wednesday through the rest of the week in terms of the pattern changing. You can see that we have some of those colder temperatures in through the southern and central United States. So you can see that for a little bit of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Louisiana, it should be near normal for the southeast, maybe a tad above normal. And then for the rest of the country, for the northern 2/3 of the United States, we're dealing with some warmer than normal temperatures. So it'll definitely feel noticeable. And there's going to be a few pockets that are going to be more noticeable than others. So you can see it for the northwest. You can see another area in the northern plains, and then maybe in the northeast a little bit. It'll be a little bit warmer than the surrounding areas, but for the most part, those three pockets are going to be where you're going to feel it the most. And again, the darker and the deeper the shades of red, that's going to signify that the temperatures are warmer. So, for example, if you're in kind of this lighter shade of orange, that's where you're a little bit closer to normal. If you're in this deeper shade of red in the northwest, that's where you're maybe closer to 10 degrees Celsius above normal, which is closer to 15 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Taking a look at for Thursday of this week, you can see that we have some warmer temperatures into the northwest, and then pretty much in a belt from the northwest all the way to the east coast. So a fairly wide swath here of the United States dealing with warmer temperatures. We do start to see a little bit of a trough feature set up into the central Canada area and also into the northern plains. So we're dealing with a bit of a trough like this, and this is going to be sliding to the north, to the east, and to the east southeast basically. It'll dip into the northern tier of the U.S., and that could provide a little bit of relief from all that heat that we're going to be dealing with earlier on in the week. Still a little bit chilly as you get closer to the Mexican border, and then right in between both of those areas of cooler temperatures, we're going to have a big swath of warmer temperatures. If we look at for Friday, you're going to see, again, that trough really moving along quite swiftly to the east. You can see that trough feature well defined into central and eastern Canada. I think this is a sign that we're really getting closer to fall by this point. We're not dealing with these storms kind of being very weak and not really too noticeable. We're now starting to see some defined upper air features. So when you start to see that, you're typically going into the fall and winter time frame. Fall and winter usually are notorious for having these big upper air features like big high pressures or big low pressures that are bringing in colder temperatures. So we're starting to go into that time frame when the pattern will start to switch up a little bit, and you're going to see a lot more defined troughs like what you're seeing into eastern Canada that could provide a little bit of a cool down for at least a couple of days into these areas. This would be for Friday, here would be for Saturday, and you can see that we have colder temperatures still for some parts of central and eastern Canada, maybe dipping into the U.S., still quite warm, especially if you live in the west, and then if you live in the eastern United States, it'll probably be above normal for most people, but there will be a few pockets where you're closer to normal in terms of the temperatures, or you're maybe even a little bit cooler than average. But again, it's not going to be too noticeable. It will be a nice relief, but I don't think it'll be too noticeable or anything that's going to be too major. If we look at the upper air pattern, I think this will give you a good idea of what's actually happening. If we look at earlier this week, so as of when you guys are seeing this, or most of you guys on Sunday, you can see that, or this would be the day after, so this would be for Sunday, and you can see that we're dealing with a trough into the central U.S. We did have a bit of cooler temperatures there. We had a trough into parts of the mid-Atlantic. You saw those colder temperatures along the coastal mid-Atlantic, and then we have also those cold temperatures into the northwest, and you saw that colder air mass earlier on in the week for parts of the northwest, and that's where we're getting the colder temperatures. You also see that we have a high pressure up into eastern Canada, and then we have a little bit of a blip in the jet stream. That would be indicative of a high pressure, or at least a weak one, in through these areas. So we're dealing with a fairly complex upper air feature as we're going through Sunday, and then as we get to Wednesday, it really starts to quiet down in terms of all these upper air features. We have just mainly two systems. We have this big area of ridging all throughout the United States, with a little bit of troughing into parts of northern Mexico, and that's what's providing some of those colder temperatures. And then we have that big trough into central Canada, which is going to be diving along into eastern Canada and the eastern United States, and this is providing those colder temperatures. So what you see up in central Canada is that big area of low pressure that's providing those colder temperatures. So that's the upper air feature that's really going to be impacting our pattern quite significantly. And you can see that by the end of the week, so next Saturday, we have a high pressure into the west, and that's fairly well defined. And then we have a low pressure, which is going to be somewhat dipping into parts of the Great Lakes and the Northeast, as well as into eastern Canada with those colder temperatures. So that's a breakdown of what's happening in the upper air. If you want to know what's happening a little bit farther out, here's the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. This is from the 13th through the 17th, and you can see that we have along the west coast and the Rockies, as well as some of the northern plains, some warmer temperatures, and then also along the east coast and then into the Gulf Coast, we have some of those warmer temperatures as well, maybe a little bit below normal if you live in the southern plains or also into the southwest. If we move on to the 8 to 14 day outlook, you can see not a lot changes. This would be from the 15th through the 21st, and you can see that we have some warmer temperatures again still along the east coast. We have some warmer temperatures also along the northern plains and into the west, and then we have for the southwest and parts of the southern plains also some colder temperatures, with a little bit of a gap right in between where we're dealing with somewhere near normal temperatures. Taking a look at the total amount of rainfall that we're expecting over the next 7 or so days, you can see that we're expecting some higher amounts, especially if you live in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, higher amounts compared to normal if you live in the Southwest, and then we're dealing with fairly normal amounts if you live along the East Coast, with the exception of the coastal Mid-Atlantic. They'll get one storm that could provide 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, and that should boost your anomalies. It's fairly dry if you live out west, however, we're not dealing with a whole lot of rainfall out there. Taking a look at the 6 to 10 day outlook for precipitation from the 13th through the 17th, you can see that we're expecting it to be drier if you live in these areas from the Great Lakes, the northern plains, and then into the northwest, as well as for parts of the Gulf Coast and the southeast. We have for parts of the southeast and mid-Atlantic a little bit of above normal, and then also for the southwest and the southern plains a little bit of above normal precipitation or rainfall expected. If we look at the tropics also, this is the forecast for the total amount of tropical activity. This was last made on the 4th, so they didn't update this. I believe they update this once a week or maybe twice a week, and this was made on the 3rd actually. So they do this map, I believe, once a week. You can see that they're expecting for this week, which goes through August 10th. So from the 4th through the 10th, they were expecting a little bit of above normal rainfall. That is probably a sign of tropical activity. And then you can also see that in the Atlantic, they have for the next week from the 11th through the 17th. You want to keep your eyes open for this above average rainfall, and they're saying moderately above average rainfall just east of the Caribbean. And then also we have a above average chance of tropical cyclone formation also in that red area, and you can see that through the central part of the Atlantic. So we could be dealing with a little bit of more tropical activity than normal as we get into next week, and we're already starting to see that with a hyperactive Atlantic. I believe we have 3 storms as of when I'm recording this out in the Atlantic. Who knows, maybe by when this is being released it could be 4 or 5 depending on which storms they name. So again, I'm making this video as of Friday night, and then this will be released on Saturday morning, so it's a little bit delayed, but again, that's why I did a long range forecast. I didn't want to do a hurricane one based on what's happening in the Atlantic, just because that is going to be outdated within just a couple of hours when they release their next update. These longer range videos usually are not outdated by that point. Usually takes at least 2 or 3 days for some new and bigger data to be released and for the forecast to really change. So So again, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and if you have any questions on any of the long range forecasts, leave a comment on those videos. I'll be responding to all of them. And again, just a recap of what the schedule is going to be. August 9th, we're going to have the August forecast, the fall forecast on the 10th, fall foliage forecast on the 11th, winter forecast on the 12th, total snowfall forecast on the 13th, first snowfall forecast on the 14th, first frost forecast on the 15th. So I hope everybody is having a good day, and I hope you guys do enjoy the content that will be coming out on this channel over the next few days. That is going to wrap it up for today's video. Again, make sure you are subscribed and you have notifications turned on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.